do whatever I wanted to do with it. But there was just so many different issues, like leaks, and then we'd have like other issues that I'm not even going to go into with the building, and I just couldn't take it anymore. I'm like, I'm running a spa. This is a clean and beautiful environment, and we can't have these other things constantly happening. It was just too much for me to handle. So I reached out to my parents again. I was like, hey, I'm back again. Like, do you have a commercial space for me? And of course they didn't have anything, and that was fine. I was like, I figured, and honestly they were like, probably like, we don't want to open that can of worms again. So I tried kind of looking around, couldn't find anything. Well, there was a mutual client that I had with another salon in town that was a newer salon that opened literally the same year that I opened my spa. And she had mentioned this place, and it actually was in the building that was my dentist growing up, and like it was just a nostalgic thing. Like, this building I had always been in love with. I always thought about the things that could be done with it, even as a child, and there was not really like that in any other building that I worked at or that I ever went into. So it's kind of like, why was I so drawn to this building? Well, the client was like, you know, you should really like talk to her, and like you guys should partner up on like an event or something. And I'm like, oh yeah, like, because I'm always about partnering with other businesses and just trying to like help each other out, especially if it's another female business. Plus, it was a business that was offering something that we weren't already offering. So it made a whole lot of sense to do something together, an event, do something. And so I didn't really quite jump on it right then and there. I kind of was like, well, yeah, maybe I'll talk to her or something. Maybe I'll reach out. But I think like a week or two had gone by, and I was in with a client, and one of my, I think it was my receptionist, was when I came out of the appointment, my receptionist goes, hey, this lady came in and she left her business card and she wants you to reach out to her. And I saw the name and I saw the salon, and I was like, oh, that's the girl that so-and-so was telling me about. So I had messaged her, and at the time I thought I was gonna have to downsize, because we were considering moving into a different space, and if I downsized, I was gonna have to lose my nail tech. I did have a nail tech at the time, and I really cared about her, and I didn't really want to like just be like, hey, we're like moving and downsizing, so like good luck, like bye. You're not like, that wasn't me, it's not my character. So I felt like in the time of me, you know, talking about an event with this other salon, I wanted to say, hey, are you looking for, I did see she was looking for a nail tech at the time. So I thought this was perfect. You know, she can take my nail tech, I can get this all set up for her, get her into a new space, and have a game plan for her instead of just being like, bye, you know, we're moving or whatever. So the salon owner was like, hey, why don't you come in and like come talk with me, let's sit down like and chat. So I'm like, absolutely, I'm always down for a business meeting. So I go, and we ended up like pretty hitting it off. It seemed like a lot of the ideas we had were very aligned, and so it seemed like something that I felt comfortable like putting my nail tech into that. But by the end of our conversation, she gave me a tour of the building because she had done a lot of renovations, and I was just amazed because I remember that from when I was a child, and it had been years since I'd been in this building that I had admired forever. So we get upstairs, and my wheels start spinning on like, oh my gosh, we're so looking for a space right now. She was using the upstairs as an Airbnb, and it ended up being that, you know, by the end of our conversation, we kind of were like, well, what if you like rented up here? And like, it was kind of like ran both of our businesses out of here and all of that. And so I was like, yeah, you know, I could definitely think about that and, you know, go home and think about it. And she's like, well, why don't we set up like a meeting? So we set up a second meeting and like kind of talked it out, and she proposed a business merge. And so we basically, I thought about it. She laid out a very nice game plan of what this would look like. And from what I saw on paper, that to me looked like a fairy tale picture perfect situation for my business and just for what I wanted to do. And I did start dating someone in the midst of like owning my business and all of this. And so, you know, even he was like, hey, and this is the person I'm still with today. So, my boyfriend was like, hey, you really should, think about it. That's what you want to do. I know he believed in me because he had been watching me run my business for, an extended period of time. So I think he felt like comfortable with that. Even though, this was 2 years in, this all happening right after, like, I had my business 2016, and then it was about the end of 2018 that all of this started to, like, become a thing. And so we ended up just being like, all right, let's do it. Like, I'm kind of desperate for a new space. I love this space. I feel like her and we've got, these, 2 different types of service menus that can come together to create one full service menu, and we can split up the duties between the 2 of us of running a business, because if any of you are an entrepreneur, you know that it is extremely hard to run a business in general by yourself, and so having a partner is always extremely helpful. So we went ahead and did it, lost a couple employees through that, but honestly it was blessings because I was starting to pick up on some toxicity that was going on with my team, and it seemed like this merge was kind of a blank slate in a way to kind of redefine the brand and what we were doing as a team. And so we fully rebranded, changed the name of the spa. Her salon and my spa, they were no longer a thing. We were one thing as a new name, basically. And so as time went on, we had ups and downs, and I would say, so we merged officially in January of 2019. In October of 2020, obviously we'd been through the pandemic, we had been through a water leak that pretty much destroyed the whole entire hair suite, that it needed to be completely remodeled. We were shut down for 2 weeks. There's a lot of things that were going on, but then also things were just starting to clash. The person who I thought this person was didn't end up, I don't think, being the person at the end of it all that I thought she was. So I had to make a really tough decision to leave that business. And it was interesting because at the time, literally that month before, I had purchased our first home. My boyfriend and we had purchased our first home in a big city. And so I had been actually commuting for a few years from our apartment back to my hometown for this business. And we'd bought this house, and this, it would have been September, right before leaving the business. And I was so paranoid that everyone was going to think like, oh, you're leaving the business because you bought a house, like, you're out of here, screw my hometown, I'm out of here. But that wasn't the case. There's a lot of stuff that went down at the very end of that, and that was probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, is leave that business. I had put my heart and soul into the previous business, like, on my own, as well as like being in this partnership, and I got to the point where I realized this is not mine anymore, and I need to figure out what I need to do with my life. And yet again was kind of like starting over on like this new thing that I had to figure out. So I did have a little bit of lapse in work for a few months because it was so sudden. I was dealing with like legal stuff. I was just trying to find jobs, and we're also dealing with a pandemic. The vaccine hadn't even been out yet. So it was just a lot. And I ended up getting a job at a functional medicine chiropractic office. And I worked there for a little bit. I was their social media coordinator and was their lead esthetician, and just wasn't happy there, honestly. I'm not trying to go into detail about any of these places or talk bad about any of them. I just am kind of talking about, like, it's been a crazy roller coaster journey, but I promise I'm getting to something good. So basically I was like, I can't take it any longer. I am so miserable. My depression is worse than it's ever been. I need to get back to working for myself. I need to feel like I have joy in my life again, that there's something that I work towards every day that I'm passionate about. And like I said at the beginning, there's not a whole lot of stuff that I'm constantly passionate about. And that's just a depression kind of symptom. And so I was like, I'm gonna go insane if I don't do something. And leaving my business, it took from October until March of 2021 for us to finalize everything. And at the end of it all, I basically ended with $1,000 and some of my equipment and just like decorative items. So there was a lot of stuff that I did not get back. And if I can give you any advice, if you ever decide to do a partnership, one, maybe don't. Obviously know the person really well before you get into that, and kind of get yourself into a situation that you're financially fine on your own, like even without it, but then also kind of knowing that you have a game plan if something happens, and don't just get rid of stuff, or make sure you keep a good inventory of what you go into the merger with, so that when you leave, you can take that percentage with you. So it was rough. So by March, I knew when I was getting the payout of what I was getting out of the partnership of selling my share of that, and I pretty much decided that I didn't care what it took. I was going out on my own. So I started calling around, and there was a salon in town, or around where I now live, that I called, and I didn't even see a room. I didn't see anything. I was just like, let's just see if they need an esthetician, because two things I knew. One, if I knew I needed a booth rent. I couldn't open up a storefront. I couldn't just like go start a business, any business. I knew working in a